We allow the sound of this gong, this bell, to call us to presence, to call us to center, to call us into our hearts. Into our hearts, where we take a moment to place all concerns, thoughts, worries, issues of life, thoughts and concerns, issues, worries, and such of this world, of our lives. We place all this on the altar, not in judgment. We place it on the altar because we trust the Divine Mother to disperse that which is no longer necessary in our lives and to illuminate that which is, to bring light to dark places in our lives, to illuminate our hearts and souls, activating a greater sense of our divinity so that we can become as God in terms of made in the image of God. We too are loving, kind, compassionate, patient, of course forgiving. Allow us to be your holy presence in a world where we can say one day, starting now, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Where we can proclaim, when you see me, you see the Father, Mother, God, because we have no choices, decisions, beliefs, other than that which God has. I am as God created me, and I will to be the Christ on earth. And so it is.
Please join me in reading our mission statement, which you can find on this white card. Together we say, the Global Center for Christ Consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And now for our sacred reading of the day.
From A Course in Miracles. To you who are in time a little while, prayer takes the form that will best suit your need. What God created one must recognize its oneness and rejoice that what illusions seem to separate is one forever in the mind of God. Prayer now must be the means by which God's children leave separate goals and separate interests by and turn in holy gladness to the truth of union in his Father and himself. And so it is.
Well, thank you for being with us today. My name is Michael Mirdad, and I share here and serve here as part of the spiritual leadership. Can anyone share what it is that's on your mind and in your heart that you'd like me to discuss today? Then Spirit and I will weave those together. What have you got?
Trust. Finding your purpose. Joy.
Starseeds. Trusting God.
Focused intention. Stability of home.
What did you say?
Starseeds.
No.
Surrender. Focused intention. Stability of home. Generosity.
Okay, hold on. Okay. So, trust, purpose. We have a wide variety of things as usual. It's not a complicated thing to weave these topics together. It might seem like it, but it isn't. Just like it's not as complicated as people think it is to weave people together that seem like they have differing beliefs and so on and so on. To me, it's an interesting time that we're in. A lot of people are talking currently about an eclipse, a major eclipse that's going on. It's true that it is a fairly rare event, the type of eclipse that it is, and that it's happening on the, strange word, in the shadow of a lunar eclipse we just had as well. So there's a lot going on. But it's interesting to me because people, wow, eclipses are so intense, or whatever, wording they use. Eclipses are a symbol where there's lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, but the whole idea is almost the same as when we talk about things like shadow work, shadow self. Now, some people make a religion out of the whole, honor your shadow self and all that. My perspective of things is different or unique in some ways, because when you eclipse something, when something's eclipsed, it sort of means blocked out, doesn't it? And the last thing you want to do is be part of that which blocks out the light of God. If we were in God consciousness and we looked at each other, we wouldn't see anyone there. We would only see and feel the presence of light and love. That's why heaven is a state of bliss, because there's nothing to look at or evaluate. It's just the light of God. Now, on that note, when they talk about shadow work, it's kind of simple, even though some people spend books talking about it. What is it? Validate it, don't validate it, and so on. It's kind of simple. There's the light of God that's everywhere. And the light of God shines upon our life, our world, our universe, our being, in our hearts. The light of God, it just doesn't stop. It's complete, and it's always. The only time when you have a model of a light, for example, an example of a model of a light, the only time you have a shadow is when you get in the way of the light. So I don't need to make a religion out of shadow work. All I need to do is practice what? Getting out of the way. Have you worked on your shadow? Yeah, hold on. Okay, I'm good. Think about this. No, I'm going to go to a university and work on my shadow. How do you work on it? By the time I move to go work, it's gone. When I go to write about it, I get a pen, it's gone. I got to sneak up on it to catch it. So now the only way I can talk about my shadow is while it's still there. You see what I mean? While it's still there, because if I get out of the way, it goes away. So I have to be shadow-like to be able to talk about my shadow. And so it is. The light of God. Our opening song for the folks online was we watched the operatic version of the Lord's Prayer being sung, Bocelli, with I think it's the Mormon choir, and it's just incredible. And I've heard it before. We've played it a few times in our history in the years here, and still I'm standing here and tears are coming to my eyes, and there's a point where just chills, it's amazing. And you know what's happening? Is a person who's singing is getting out of the way. That's what has to happen. The sound has to build in here. Something has to build and then be allowed to come uninhibited through the throat, your throat chakra. Now, you don't have to be Bocelli. Just what are you doing that is getting out of your way? Holding on to grievances, holding on to, I have something to say. I have a stand to make. That's something getting in the way. Now, on planet Earth, it's hard not to have something get in the way. Technically, we have layers that we place in the way from absolute light of God. For example, you put clothes on this morning, thank you. And it's a layer. So some things are just going to happen and just be accepted while we're in this world. But it is worth asking ourselves where we get in the way unnecessarily. Where you overly doubt yourself, where you overly think things. And sometimes, it happens to everybody. There are times I walk into the center, whether it's a rare visit during the week to come and do something, or whether it's a Sunday. Sometimes I just walk in so ready to, do the Bocelli, just loud. I don't mean vocally, but I mean just energetically. And then, I'm getting ready to, wow, it just feels great to be here. And then a conversation, and then some issue, and, stuff. Oh, the phones aren't working. Oh, and then, and I go back in there to, just seat while we're doing the announcements, and the chair's missing, and nobody knows where the chair went. And so, it's just, this is this world. Your job is not to find the days where you don't have those. Although we all are going to hope for that. Our job is to deal with them without losing that same tone. So does, that sound, that tone, does it become, do you lose that? I'm just about to sing the light of God, and next thing you know, you're screaming from your shadow self. So how do I get out of the way? Well, the simplest is to own that you're off for a second. Give that to God and call in something else. Despite my chair missing, what matters is the peace and love of God. Despite this, what really matters? What really matters? What really matters? That's the quickest restoration back to sanity. We can't contrive a better life. We can't. We can't just put some puppet in office and say, now everything's going to be better. And you also can't just, if only my lawn is mowed, now I feel peace. Nothing on the outside world is going to restore it. One of you is asking about trust, for example. Humans are such control freaks. They think that they're allowed to trust when everything is going their way. That's actually not trust. That's actually a statement of non-trust. So it's going to happen that this world is going to test us all. Everyone, all the time, every day, pretty much. And when you say, I want to know about trust, it's not going to be, okay, listen, if you just do this and you and everybody, okay, now I can trust that everything's okay. Somebody that it's about to go out on a date, but the sitter showed up, and the dogs have been fed, and that's reasonable. It's not control freak stuff. But when we look at ourselves more deeply, we start to realize there's a part of us that thinks I can rest as soon as everything is going the way I think it should. Where in fact we learn true trust means even though something is a little off, I trust you to take care of this. And you can start days. Just yesterday, there was something we needed to do at the center here. My prayer when I was driving in was simply, I trust that you'll even line this up. Well, what, is God going to start dialing numbers for you? You need to find a plumber, So you need to get on the phone, but what you can do is say, help us to get to the right one. Now, what the right one means, you must not have heard me because they charge more than the other ones. You can do that. You can say, I meant inexpensive, when you watch what you pray for. So make sure you put inexpensive or whatever. Or do you totally trust that God will pick for you the right one? Yeah, but what do you mean by right? Right to God, which is usually going to go pretty well, but we don't think so. I know you're going to pick the right one, Lord, but make sure this. See, and that starts to control it. And, if God actually listens to these kinds of nonsensical prayers, God would be going, oh, okay. So you want a good plumber, but it has to be at this hour of the day, and it has to be this, whatever. Then God says, you just narrowed it down to where the one that you are ordering up isn't available to answer your call for 6 weeks, let's say. And now you're upset about that. So we have to learn, whether it's romantic or whether it's industrial or whether it's financial, what trust really means. Trust really means I don't know. I do not know the greatest good. I think I know what I want, but I don't know. Some of us go, no, but I do know what I want. I was taught by a empowerment teacher to specify who I want to date, what they look like. And then psychically you're putting it out there. And out there somewhere, Brad Pitt's walking down the street with twitches and he doesn't know why. And it's because you're psychically telling him you're waiting for him to call. But out of all the requests today, 2 different people asked about trust in different forms. Trusting God, and then just trust in general. This world, the whole universe, is like the most intense mathematical thing with all these gears turning perfectly. I get intrigued if you've ever looked at a clock or watch. Look at the ingenuity, that everything's so precise. It's amazing to look at it. But then imagine, so is your day, so is your body, your life, the world, the universe, everything is this precise movement. Miracles do not mean pretend there's no movement. There's a gear right here, and it's going to turn all the way to here, and it's going to be the equivalent of something that the face of the clock's going to be calling an hour. So, zzz, and another one's turning slowly while another one's turning fast, and now it's an hour. Well, if it just passed a moment ago that it reached over here, and today I decided to do a prayer to change something in my life, sometimes that wheel doesn't come around yet. Now the whole time, what are we doing? I can't believe my prayer's not coming through. I just don't get it. Where are you, God? Maybe there's not a God. I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe I should just trust. Maybe I should call a counselor, my therapist or whatever. And then, something happens. Oh, well, I lost the mood. I want something else now. So this is what we do. That's not trusting. And I'm not wronging anybody, because to err is human, to forgive divine also means to not trust is human and to trust is divine. We have our moments. We have our stuff. But the way these wheels turn, I need to get out of the way. An eclipse. To be afraid of the eclipse is normal. To be a little concerned is normal. But do you know why people are? It's because they know, listen to this carefully, we know that we don't think only holy thoughts. We know that we have issues. We know we have doubts and fears and unresolved issues from an hour ago, let alone 8 lifetimes ago. We all know that on some level we're kind of messed up. And when a full moon's coming, when Saturn is going to go retrograde, when an eclipse is happening, what's really happening is, I'm about to show up. My stuff. Release the stuff, there's nothing to fear. See, Saturn can only show you. Mercury can't go retrograde and give you my issues about communication. It can only give you yours. So what I'm really doing, as Edgar Cayce puts it, meet self. Or learn to watch yourself go by, is a saying he used to use, which meant observe yourself, self-observation. Where's this coming from? Oh my God, eclipse, wait. Where is this coming from? If Jesus were standing in front of you having a conversation, you said, Jesus, listen, I've got several questions, but one is, what's going to happen in the eclipse? He would have to say to you, what are you most afraid of? Because that's what an eclipse would be. What's going to happen in the full moon? Well, a magnification of whatever you're feeling. Well, I've heard people go nuts. Yeah, it's the moon's fault. The moon's just sitting up there going, oh man. Just one more day and I'm going to drop that sliver off and I'm going after you. That's not what happens. Mercury isn't going forward and then reverse just to bother you. You have any contracts to sign? Yeah, you just wait. It's an eclipse, it's the same thing. All we're doing is meeting ourselves. Heal self and you won't have anything to worry about. So even the worst things that ever go on this planet, including a personal dark night of the soul or a global dark night of the soul, what are they really? They're us doing house cleaning. Why do people sneeze when they're house cleaning? Which is normal. Don't judge yourself for it. Because dust can trigger allergies or sneezing, right? Do you think it's the dust? See, that's human thinking. You think it's the dust. It's issues that the dust is holding that make you sneeze. Why? Because these are your psychic senses, and when you sense something's in dust, something's in past memories, the dust, right? The dust, that old collection of old stuff, and you go and stir it up. Why don't you leave well enough alone? Stop dusting and vacuuming. It makes me sick when you start bringing up the past. See, kicking up dust. Ka-choo. What you're trying to do is, I don't like this. Ka-choo, ka-choo. But it's normal. It's, what am I, like Martha Stewart now? But the psychic Martha Stewart. So that's what's happening. We blame everything. And then somebody else comes out. Did you know it's not dust? It's mites in the dust. So now it's not the dust, it's these mites going, I just can't wait to get into your nose, What if it's nothing else? What if there is nothing else but us and a mirror? That's it, because that's what it is. The world is a hologram, a holographic mirror. It looks 3D, height, depth, breadth, width, whatever. But it's just a mirror. It's a holographic mirror, fancy mirror, high-tech mirror, but it's still us. Mirroring back us. And we sneeze it out because we don't like it. We sometimes literally vomit it out because we don't like what we're seeing. We don't like what we're ingesting, so we get nauseous. We sit for a moment and go, wow, I think I've blamed everything now. I think I got it covered. Everyone and everything has been responsible for my life experiences. What I got that I didn't want, what I didn't get that I did want, it's the mites, the moon, all these things, even gears that are so mathematically precise. Oh, fate came around. There are no gears. Nothing of this exists, which is way philosophical. I get that. It's not like we can just go, well, I just heard this talk about watches and I'm totally awakened and nothing bothers me now. It's not that I expect that, but understand, every time you hear things like this, another part of your mind is changed. And it starts believing something else, which means the hologram can mirror something different. Every time this wheel comes around, oh my God, bad things happen until we decide that's not what happens. Isn't that cool? Until we decide differently. That's why Course in Miracles says two of the most powerful words you can use in your life is choose again. I used to think that if I'm around people with colds, that's it. Well, it's scratchy throat. Oh, I know where this is going. And it takes you right back to cold flu season. Some of us do that. Oh, it's flu season, watch out. And we live in that consciousness. And it's not easy to break out of it because the majority of human beings still believe it. When you decide to make a change in your beliefs, you are one against everyone. And if you go out to the world and say, hey, everyone, did you know? They'll either just laugh at you or sometimes they've killed people for thinking differently. Because the world, not because the people are just evil, but the world that we co-created, we live in our own shadow and then blame the shadow for the things that go on. The devil made me do it. It's just the devil that lives where? In the shadows. Whose shadow? Me getting in the way and not allowing the light of God to just be. Again, philosophical. My saying it doesn't make it go away. Saying these things, however, and then hearing these things, however, and then integrating these things, however, does make a difference. Every little bit of, like that, But I can't just say it. The listeners would have to integrate it. They'd have to breathe it in. So anybody you bring this kind of lesson to, material to, that's where you're at. You're going to have to experience that they might soak it in, they might not. Some of them might even think about locking you up because, you used to do everything the way we do in our family. Now you showed up and you're like, hey, it's all about love and forgiveness. What are you, stoned? So they'll do an intervention or, who knows what they're going to do. Because sanity is the minority in this world. But this too shall pass. I have to start living sane. And to live sane, you have to access the mind that is sane. The Divine Mother, the Holy Spirit of God, the Christ within it's God. The voice of God, the voice for God. Guide me on how to see this event, because as far as I'm concerned, I feel very triggered, very anxious. It's like, but wait, that's my automatic pilot talking again. That's my compulsive self, which is technically addictive. When you allow yourself to get caught in daily worries, that is called addiction. How do I know that? Because you are allowing a compulsion to do something to run your life rather than the witness going, wait, no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. That's the chooser. There's the addict, compulsive, going along with the programs of the past, and then there's something else. Long story short, when it comes to, I mentioned holographic life, science is starting to catch up with this, and they will more and more, at some point. Don't wait around for science to prove spirituality. It's just kind of cute. It's just not, you don't need it to happen. It's kind of like, oh, that's nice, and pat them on the head. I'm glad you think you're getting it, Because the way this really works, we are the light of God. Let there be light was the day you were created. So we're all the light creation of God. If we create a false self and put it in the form, in the path of the light, we see a shadow. And then you know what we do? We start to go, that's me. Oh, I tend to be reactive. I tend to be worried. I tend to be a rescuer. I tend to, martyr, whatever it is. It's weird. There's just pure light, and our seeming separation from God, fall from heaven, whatever you want to call it, all it is really us stepping out of our light, creating a false self called the ego or the broken self, the fallen self, whatever, getting in the way of the light, looking at that getting in the way shadow on the screen of life, and then stepping onto the screen and saying, that's me. How you doing? Oh, okay, but struggling, financial struggling. I got a cold, and then I caught a cold, because it's that time the kids are at school. They bring home germs, and I just know I'm going to get sick, and I do. So you're describing a character on an illusory screen. It's an illusion on a screen, and saying that's me. So you're one step away from even curing it because you haven't even owned that the projection is the chooser here that got in the way. So you can't go onto the screen and dust the screen and make the shadow go away. A boxer does what's called shadow boxing. They move, and because you can never beat that person. So you try to get better at dodging them, even though it's you moving, so your timing becomes impeccable technically. Because I'm going to dodge that punch that's coming from me. Well, how do I dodge it if it's me at that speed? How do I become faster than my shadow of me? Something Bruce Lee did in his obsessive concepts of perfection. He hooked up these pads that he would punch, and he hooked them up to electricity. So his goal was to punch faster than he could get electrocuted by hitting these things. Wow, faster than electricity. And the shadow boxer doing, the same thing. And we do this in life. We actually identify with that character. Look at, oh my God, that shadow, it's gained weight. You can't gain weight. You're just a spirit being. No, I'm not. I'm that shadow that gained weight. I'm not having a very good day now. Because a shadow looked like it inflated a little more. When you change the projection, the one in the way of the light, the shadow will change. But you think you can keep dieting to do it. But go and study diets. There's a diet that'll tell you if you eat more frequently through the day, you'll lose weight. Some other book comes out and says, no, eat once, go several hours of fasting, eat again, and you'll lose weight. Those are opposites. And yet, which one's true? They both get published, they both get used because some people react to this one, some that. But you know which ones you react to? The one you believe in. So this is the believer. Your actions come from your thinking, but your thinking comes from your beliefs. See, thinking still involves some sort of calculation. I decided that I'm not such a bad person, I should love myself more. And that sounds like an empowered belief. It isn't. It's a thought. If you don't believe you're lovable, your thinking will have to work hard to try to conjure up some ideas that you are lovable. It comes to my beliefs. Oh my God, I get it now. Even my thinking is corrupt. Well, I'm just going to think better. That's not the cure. If there's 10 things I need to do to improve my thinking, changing one belief would knock off all those 10. Instead of you going and doing 10 thinking exercises, change just one belief. And everything else starts to change. I believe in you. You know, that's a different thought. Well, this is you we're talking about. Trusting. Trusting what? You don't trust untrustworthy things. If people are believing that they are shadows, I'm not telling you to trust them to hold this bag of money for you. Because you're trusting in fallen parts of people. What I want to do to trust you is, despite your behaviors, and no, I'll hold on to the bag of money, thank you, is I'm trusting that you will get in touch with your real self. Then I can trust your trustworthy parts. Trusting doesn't mean foolishness. Be as gentle as doves, but be as wise as serpents means, you know, keep your wits about you. In this world, there are things you're going to have to decide now and again. So we have this holographic concept. I'll be brief with this as best I can. When they finally did experiments on how creation works, they didn't think it's creation. They thought we're going to figure out how holograms are created. But what they're doing is replicating creation, because you are the light of God, and whatever you believe in starts to manifest. It's not just your thinking. Your thinking adds to it, empowers it, yes, but it's really deep in your heart where you hold your beliefs. In any case, science says, well, let's take a laser, because laser light is the purest form of light that they know of, which means it's a sort of a metaphor of you, because your light. Make sense so far? Your light, so laser light is like you. Does that make sense so far? So they take this laser light and say, how can we learn about what laser light does? And I'm like, wait, it's us that you're learning about. No. So they take a laser and they can beam it somewhere and nothing really happens. But if they split the beam and bounce it off of mirrors and bring it back to the center of the room, it can manifest third-dimensional imagery, holograms. Holograms, whole meaning depth, height, width. Makes sense again. So they're finding that lasers can do this. Now they take the laser light and they send one direction, they send another some other direction, and they can take the one laser and beam it through something like an apple. By the time the one comes back to the center of the room and the other one comes back as pure light, the apple starts to actually show up in the room three-dimensionally. It has depth, height, and width. So you're replicating, which they think is a cool experiment in terms of laser. I'm going, that's us we're talking about. Whatever I believe in, beaming one direction, and we believe in beaming in another direction, I and we come together and create our reality. They haven't gotten this yet, but give them 3,000 years. So what's especially strange is they can photograph this apple. They can then take part of that photograph, really weird, of an apple. They can shatter it or cut it into 1,000 pieces of the apple. So you have a picture of an apple. There's the core, there's the shape, and so on. The width and the whole picture. They can take a picture of that. They can take 1 trillion pieces if you want. They cut it up into countless number of pieces. Take one piece of the picture of an apple. Could have been the core piece, the leaf piece, the root piece, the left, the right. They take the one piece, throw the other parts away, send the laser through one piece of the apple, the whole apple shows up again. That's not even, how could that even be possible? It's only a picture of the portion of the core. How could it be the whole apple? Because in everything is everything. So that kind of blew their minds. But the important piece to me is not the science of it per se, although it's kind of cool. The important part to me is, where do I come in? What is this telling me about me? And that means my beliefs and our beliefs. They can't just get one laser to do this. They have to have this field. It happens in, it's called an interference field, but which is a funny word for it. What does it mean? Because you're in the way. But you take this two beams together, and in that space where they're coming together, like kind of like where you drop a rock here, drop a rock there, where the waves interfere, where they overlap, right there is where the picture shows up. And what that means is, where my beliefs blend with your beliefs, we have our reality. If one of us changes our beliefs, it can change the whole reality. Except the problem is we don't believe that. We keep thinking, I have nothing to do with it. This is the way the world does things and sees things. What you're saying is, I only believe in the right laser, the right-hand laser that comes together and just manifests my reality. This is what people think. This is what people believe. I can't help what the government said, etc. You can't be seeing it if it isn't also you believing it. It's impossible. You can't create the hologram unless you're involved. So we have to step up and own this, which isn't always easy because then it's really heavy. If I own that I'm contributing and I don't like what I see, you know what happens? I start to feel guilty and ashamed. And the ego's going to say, I told you. Did I tell you? Don't take responsibility. It is always painful. Stop it. And then, yeah, you're right. I better be quiet and just go along with the world that it does this to me. It's impossible, not just philosophically, it's impossible for the world to do this. And I know some of this is heavy stuff. I know that my ex cheated and then left me. That's them. On some level, before they did it, I swear to you, you already knew it. On some level. No, I didn't. I'm just completely an innocent victim. That's what you need to believe for now. Because who's going to feel good about that? Well, I knew this and yet I stayed. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's great for my self-esteem. You know, I chose this person, and as we walked up the aisle, I thought, this is amazing. 16 years from now, you're going to completely be cheating on me, and you're going to be, then you'll take the dog and the kids and the money, and I'll be living in the trunk of my car, and everything. It's all okay. Who goes down the aisle with that? No, it's got to be like, just nothing but love, and they're the answer to all my issues. And anything I want, they'll bring to me. And what I don't, they'll keep away from me because they're my knight in shining armor or whatever else it is. And it's tiring. And we get diseases because we don't want to know any part we played in any of this. Because you know what? A disease is a dis-ease. It's a lack of ease. Why would I feel a lack of ease? Because I don't feel good about what's happening in my life or what I know is happening that I don't want to acknowledge. So it becomes a unhappy part of my body. Let that go on long enough, and just like the hologram, it starts to materialize. My regrets, my shame start to become a tense muscle, a vertebra that pops out of place. It is. Ailments, growths. The body says, man, you've got a lot of weird grief over here. You've got a lot of resentment over there. And the body says, all we know how to do is start multiplying cells that become a growth. Or it's not always just actual cells building as a disease. It can actually do things like, you've been complaining about work for 20 years. We've had it up to here. Your soul can say, your human self is complaining so much. We've had it. We have a great idea. On the way to work today, your car is going to fall into a pit, and never be seen again. And then you'll go to the other side and say, what happened? You don't like going to work, but you didn't do anything about it. So we did. We opened up this, one of those holes in the, earth and dropped you in. And last thing you saw was Bigfoot's cave, and the earth closed up and now you're here. Now you got to go back. Married to Bigfoot. Because that's your last memory. Anyway. In the complexities of all these gears, every one of those is my beliefs and our beliefs. And I've set them in motion somewhere. When time began, I set certain things into motion. In between lifetimes, I'm setting some things up. And somebody could say, hey, listen, the gears have to turn, planet Earth, year after year, the things are happening in the illusion. It'll look like there's time. But we can insert another gear where 5 of your issue gears can all be turned properly to be done and dispersed. It's like a new technology. We're going to give you a super gear. And it's going to go, and it's going to take 5 gears out of the picture. That sounds intriguing. What they don't tell you all the time is what that means is 5 of your worst nightmare relationships all in one lifetime, and you're going to come out done with 5 issues. Now you don't have to reincarnate again. It sounds good when they say it because you're in spirit and you're like, nothing phases me. Soon as you come here, you've got to be kidding me. Yeah, we didn't tell you. The first of these relationships is the doctor that accidentally drops you and starts some sort of birth trauma. 20, 30 years from now, you're going to be doing some rebirthing. Oh, in some spiritual center somewhere, incense. Oh, and then all of a sudden, what just happened? I just remembered being dropped by the doctor. Oh, doctors, AMA, they're all out to get us. And you go into this weird, picketing outside, hospitals, big pharma. And you don't know. I have no idea why I'm doing this, but big pharma picketing. And you have no idea that what really happened, it's called an unhealed wound. I mean, it's just weird how this works. And you want me to talk about trust. Hope does not come from telling God to change the gears, to change the things. You want to feel hope? You have to actually get your mind to learn to zero in on, when this is all over, how are you going to feel at peace? Alpha and Omega is God. I felt peace in the beginning. I'll feel peace at the end. Yeah, but what happens before the end? There's Judgment Day. Remember, I've said several times along all these years, Judgment Day is one moment before the end. Even the Christians would say that. And watch out, they would say. And I would say, actually, it means starting now, I no longer choose to judge. The next moment is, I'm done. You see? Judgment Day is the end of judgment. It isn't the day you get judged and thrown into hell. It's the day the judgment stops. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord, never meant you leave it to me. I know people, and I'm going to punish all those who hurt you. That's not actually good. Vengeance is mine means, please give your hurts to me. Vengeance, hate, hurt, unhealed wounds are mine, says the Lord. Isn't that a completely different vibe? Even though some of us are like, yes, we would like vendettas to be met and God go get somebody. But be careful, because anyone who you really, really believe is a jerk, like a really hurtful person, socially, globally, historically, anybody you can conjure up, and we all could think of somebody, just take one of them and think they deserve a little. You've now put yourself in that same line of fire. So it's actually very healthy, very wise to say, it does me no good. In any judgment I have, judge and ye shall be judged. It means exactly that. It means that by judging, you're already putting yourself in a state of mind of judgment. As soon as I want to imprison someone with my opinions, I'm in prison with them. Please don't hear me as though I'm invalidating your hurts. I'm not at all. In time, these things happened. When your mind learns to be outside of time, none of it matters. It's an illusion. It's a hologram. You're thinking from a different state of mind. Going to a fifth dimensional being, a 12th dimensional being, or whatever, and saying, okay, just tell me this. The truth, please. Really, what brand of toothpaste is the best? 3 out of 4 dentists say this one. They're going to be like, why? Because they don't have teeth, they don't have body. It's going to seem surreal. And I'm telling you, your life, the way you see it today, is one day going to seem surreal. It's going to be like, what? They left me, and I can't live if living is without them. And you're going to be like, what was I thinking? Like, that is so crazy thinking. I can't live with, what? I'm an autonomous, multi-dimensional being. No, I need them. What are they, your salt and pepper for today, and it spices up your life? You become so expansive in consciousness, there's nothing you can imagine needing. So that might not make sense to someone who's, heavily codependent or whatever. So right now you might be, I don't like what this guy's saying. I like to feel needy and I want to be codependent. Well, knock yourself out. That's just fine. This too shall pass. Sincerely, we are made in the image of God. We are beings of light. As much as I make fun of humans, which is easy to do, it's not out of disrespect. I'm not shaming humans. That would mean, it would imply that I actually think you are humans, we are humans, and we're messed up. No, I'm laughing at how that we think we're this, limited beings. We think that people have power over us. We sit around waiting and praying and doing mantras and lighting candles for our boss to give us 25 cents more an hour. You know, and that's just like Pilate saying to Jesus, don't you realize I have power over you? That's your boss. That's the car salesman. Don't you realize I have power to control whether you get this car or not? I can tell our accounting department, no, they need to pay this. And everybody has power over me. Jesus says to Pilate, you don't have power when he says, don't you realize I have power? No, you don't. You only have power that I've given you. Now, how many of us have said that? Truly meant it. Don't you realize I have power over you, your partner and happiness, your kids? We're gonna turn our backs on you, Mom, and ruin your life if you don't do what we want. And just to be able to retire them all. You have no power other than that which I gave you. And I decided I'm not going to give that anymore. Not because I hate anybody. It's just like, oh, wait, I woke up. I guess it's not valuable to wear a shock collar and give you the buttons. I don't know, call me silly, call me a buzzkill. No, that was kind of funny, wasn't it? Call me, I didn't mean that. It just comes out, man. Blame them. So, why did you create that statement? So it's like, that doesn't make any sense at all. My happiness level, this is the gadget to my happiness level. As soon as I say I do, I hand that over with my ring. You know, I give you a ring and the controls. It doesn't make sense. But we all have done this. To our boss, you have control over my income. Really? Are you sure? Yes. What if you have other income? No, Michael, you don't understand. It is my only, I can show you my tax forms. I only have one income. One that you know of, one that you believe in. It's the one where you go to work. Isn't income finding $1 on the street? Isn't income a lottery winning? I mean, that's income. You narrowly think that it's only this and someone else is in charge of it. Then someone else got a raise and you didn't. Now you're a victim of the world you see. So there's all these gears. And there are more things in heaven and earth that are dreamt of in all your philosophies. Most people can't get past whatever their issues are right this second, whatever that happens to be. Just barely get a broader thinking right with day-to-day stuff, let alone, I really get it. No, wait, past lives, I really get it. Universal multidimensionality, oh my God. The average human being would explode if they knew how all this works. But that's only because we want to live in denial and believe that we would explode if we knew it all. So we only want to know this much. So we only want to go to church on Sunday, be told some, passage of the Bible, and then what it means, which we don't really listen to or care anyway. We don't think about how it applies in our lives. We just listen and, oh, look, I was here. I'm good, right? This is being added up somewhere on the other side. There's a spiritual abacus. You went to church X number of times, and wait, you may enter. That's what we think, about how this works. But in reality, I'm learning to think like this. Not just being told by the government what's true. There's no such thing as UFOs. Come on. Wait. Oh, yes, there is. There's no such thing as, yeah, there is. Because your mind is like this. It can't be told to do this ever again. Once you start waking up, it's it. You start to do that. You can be scared straight. You can be scared to shutting down, but you will never forget what you once started to remember. It'll always be in there somewhere. Are you sure you want to believe that everybody's going to hell? Yes, that's what I was told. Are you sure you want to believe that? It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't make sense. And there you are, you're back. So, and one of you asked about like star seeds and what about higher dimensional beings? It all weaves in. All these wheels are turning. There's a star seed, where beings are seeded to the planet from other star systems with specific functions, with specific feelings, knowingness, awarenesses. There are beings of higher dimension that incarnate. Some do not incarnate. They only come and sort of materialize astrally, like ascended masters would often do. But there are these light workers and light beings and star seeds and masters and ascended masters. There are spirit guides that incarnate. Beings of from all kinds of mythologies and stories. They do exist. They do exist. Fairies and gnomes, they actually exist. People have become so afraid, that's what causes the narrowness. It's not they became narrow and became afraid. We're afraid, it causes narrowness, and then we magnify our fear and live this way. Enough is enough. God, we're ready. And you determine, Divine Mother, you determine, Holy Spirit, how much I'm ready to open up each day. No need to force anything, If something's going to overly freak you out, let her decide that you can handle it or not. The truth is, and you've heard this many times, you will never be given more than you can handle. Good old Saint Teresa, she said, I know that they say that God will never give you more than you can handle. I just wish he didn't trust me so much. It's great, isn't it? But, back to where we started. I don't want to believe that I play any part in handling it, that I have what I need to get through this. If that were true, I wouldn't be crying, because the crying has no real power. So you do still have what it takes to get through this. And I know some people give up. I know some people take their own lives. I know some people crack and take other people's lives. They snap. I know. Forgive them, they know not what they do. There's no sense in hating or judging anybody for doing such things, nor overly sympathizing. It's just another decision that will be another wheel to give them another opportunity to get it in a different way. And there will be always a wheel to help take them around again. They jumped off that wheel, but you can't because there's just more wheels. So you were on this wheel where you dealt with issues A, B, and C, and it felt like it was too much, so you jumped, and you'll land on another wheel that has A, B, C, and D. I wouldn't jump ship because there's E, F, and a whole lot of other letters. So handle what you can. Reach out, talk to people, ask for help, sponsors, counselors, friends, reach out. If I reach out and say, this is what's going on in my life, and you shame me for it, you allowed, on some level, that to enter your life. Say goodbye to them. There's nothing wrong with you closing a door on a previously created dysfunction. Oh, you're one of those. When I said, I just feel like stuff is coming up, and it just doesn't feel like it's only present day stuff. It almost feels like it's past life. Oh, wait, I'm your next door neighbor. I'm a fundamental Christian. Oh my God, you brought past lives. Evil, she's a witch, burn her. And you're like, I thought we were just having tea, man, and next thing I know, I'm being killed, What you say is, sorry, I meant that metaphorically, but let's talk about something else. And if they can't let that go, and even if they can, you now know that's not a conversation for this person. Don't keep putting yourself in harm's way and wondering why it doesn't change. It's okay to say goodbye. That's called having or creating healthy boundaries. I can't put a boundary up and then judge you. If I put a boundary up, it's not just because of your behavior needing a boundary. It's also, I've reached my limit with you. So I have to own my part in this. So in all this, man, the universe, the cycles, the movements, and an eclipse and a full moon, these are happening to mirror our beliefs that other things have power over us. Does that mean I'm telling you, let's leave? Before you leave, say, no, it doesn't. And now there won't be an eclipse. Things were set into motion. What you can change is how you react to it. See, that's all. How you respond to it, how you react. And I would suggest, allow yourself to shift some beliefs. Well, I got married and now I'm fated to stay married. Well, what do you mean? Like, by who? Well, my pastor said that God does not allow divorces. Really? That's interesting. Is that how it feels for you? If there is a God that loves you, are you telling me God would go, I love you, but stay with psychopath. Just stay because you married them. It's your problem. You got it. I don't think so. How do I know for sure what is the right decision? Mom, wife that's thinking about a divorce, but your pastor says it's against the Bible, just stop and say, if I had an 18-year-old daughter who married someone like this and came to me and said, Mom, I feel like this wasn't the right decision. This person's being abusive, they're cheating, etc. What advice would you give your 18-year-old daughter? And when I ask people, they're like, oh, I would tell her, you're out of there, man. Let's get you out of there. You can move in with me. Let's go on a camping trip. We'll just be like mom and daughter hippie trip, or whatever. The moms rarely say, I would tell them to stay and suffer through it. Why? You know why? Because you have a conscience that knows love and common sense. You would not recommend this to someone you love, yet you're allowing yourself to do it. You know what that means to me? You don't even love yourself as much as you would another person. So think it through again. Don't hate. Just go, oh my God. Today I'm choosing love. And now when you talk to your ex, you don't have to, the one soon-to-be ex, you don't have to, I found real love and you're not included. So there. What you can say is, this might be challenging. When I met you, we were, doing certain things and we were partying and we were kind of out there. And I'm the one who's changing the rules. I don't know. I woke up and found that these things don't resonate with me anymore. It's allowed, it's encouraged. Be compassionate and say, I know this must be hard on you because I'm changing. Instead of, why don't you change? Just say, look, I know I'm changing and that must be hard on you. I'm really sorry about that. I'm not sorry that I'm changing, but I'm sorry that there's some aftermath. So, and I would leave with, I wish we would have caught on sooner. I wish I would have seen all this sooner because then we might have been able to work it. So there's not a failure there. There's a, darn, if I would have seen this sooner, if we'd have known this when we were 18 or whatever years, 48 or whatever, I think we might have navigated this differently. See that? It allows hope. It allows not intense judgment. Not everybody's going to want to hear you talk like that. Not everybody's going to be nice about it. So sometimes you just go, get out. You'll just have to do that. Papers, deputy, sometimes, sometimes it goes that way, but never use that as a reason to hate. Use it as a means of saying, I would have loved to catch this sooner before it turned like this. Forgive them, they know not what they do. Please take a few centering breaths. There is word of a major coming eclipse. You may know of it, you may not, you may have heard about it, you may not, but just for a moment, knowing what it seems to symbolize, major shadow, blocking the light, the Son of God, the sun, our source of love and light and warmth, being blocked out. Even if it were a lunar eclipse, same thing. That's a symbol of the Divine Mother being blocked out. So whatever it is being eclipsed, ask just yourself right now, be spontaneous. What negative emotions does this coming eclipse bring up for you? Just in your mind, name a few. It could be anything from, maybe it's new opportunities. It could be dread, because things could happen. A few negative emotions. Just nod your head a couple times when you've thought of a few. about half of you so far. Nod your head a couple times when you see a few negative emotions it brings up. Good. Just now take a moment. Those feelings, not an eclipse, those feelings. Go back to any time in your life where an event or person made you feel those same emotions. Is there any other time you felt dread, anticipation, worry? Any other time? We invite you, Holy Spirit, to take us to all the relevant memories and patterns. It might be a day ago, it might be 5 lifetimes ago, it might be 40 years ago. See them. Do not recoil, do not deny them, do not minimize them. Well, what is all this about? Don't be afraid. Just see it. So that means this eclipse is not just an innocent eclipse. It's been given power. It is the messenger bringing back your unhealed dark emotions. And all of you, if you tried this at all, if you're brave enough to try it, you came up with a couple of negative emotions. And I'm saying to you, this is a messenger bringing back those emotions. If you deny these emotions, if you don't look at them, you will miss an opportunity to heal, and this will have to magnify and become even bigger. I see them, my Lord. I see the unhealed wounds. I see the hurts. The devastation this could cause in cataclysmic events, earth changes, believe it or not, brings up what? Fear and this is unfair and I don't get it. All those feelings, look at them. You felt this way in your family. You felt this way in your church. You felt this way with government. You felt this way at work. You felt this way when you got a divorce or whatever. All of that is back. You can't deny it or you wouldn't be remembering these things. They're there. The eclipse is a messenger, as is everything else in the hologram. To you, Father, Mother, God, I acknowledge this is not just an eclipse. There's not just a comet coming out in the sky that some people are talking about. This is not just anything. This is everything. To you, Father, Mother, God, onto your altar found in my heart, I surrender all of the eclipse, all of the planets, stars, moons, heavenly bodies involved. I surrender space, the universe, this earth. I surrender all the people involved. I surrender all my hurtful people from my history, all selfish people, everyone that pops up when I think about where else did I feel this? Whether it was high school, elementary school, all of it, teachers, everyone and everything, remembered and not remembered, known and unknown. I give everything to you. And picture this. Slowly, that shadow that's eclipsing the sun disappears. It fades. However much, we don't know how many turns of the gear that we're affecting. We don't care. Don't get attached. Just know this. That shadow starts to fade. And we start to feel and see the light of God shining upon us. The messenger has been heard. Each of us using it to heal our stuff. And therefore, the messenger can now bring a different message. Not a crucifixion, but a resurrection. I'm already feeling it now as I surrender the past. The crucifixion feelings start to fade. I am as God created me, and I will to be the Christ on earth. I don't need to be crucified. I've already done that. Out of all this darkness, I emerge because your hand reaches into my heart, my soul, and bids me to come forth. Just like Jesus saying, Lazarus, come forth from the dead. God reaches to my heart and says, Telethekumi, arise, little one. Arise, come forward. Don't be afraid. Yeah, but shh, it's not here right now. It's not there. But something bad could happen. But you are in my light. You've already allied with me. You're chosen. You're a light worker. You're choosing to be in alignment with God. So where we once feared planetary alignments, we're changing that to alignment with God. Soak that in. Instead of planetary alignments and sun and moon alignments and stars and comets and asteroids, and what does that have to do with anything? If I'm aligning with God, that's the alignment that matters. And in advance, we give thanks that this is true. That whatever we heard, whatever we shared, whatever we saw in the meditation is already happening. God, this is in your hands. 2 or more are gathered with people all around the world participating in this healing. Bless you, and so it is. Very slowly reacclimate to the room. A few centering breaths, feel that. And what you want to do is bring the feeling into the room, then bring the feeling of the room out to your car, bring it from your car to the grocery store or to home, tether it to each location you go. That's what the word yoga means. It's not about fancy outfits all color-coded, color coordinated. It's about, that's what yoga means. It's to tether the presence of God wherever you are, including right here as I go through movements. I'm tethering God to each movement, each posture. Thank you very much. Stretch out a little bit. Good. Do some yoga. All right. Thank you. How's everyone feeling?
I'm on point.
Good. How the talk, the meditation, can anyone share what you learned or heard that made the most sense? And or that you can bring to the world? Yes, sir.
The more you talk about the hologram, I learned about the hologram when I was like 15, 16, and everything within is without, and everything without is within.
Right.
Because when you cut a hologram up, you get the whole thing.
Right.
So we've got these gears that are in this grand hologram, these cycles that aren't real.
Right.
But like you keep saying, you have to respect that. But I need to meditate on the fact that these cycles aren't real.
Right. There's the concept that all these gears and mechanisms, everything is perfectly where it needs to be right now. And people will say, right where God will. No, this is us. The hologram mirrors us, not God. When the hologram is forgiven and released, the gears will disappear, pure light will be there, and then we'll know what God had there all the time. We can't say what's there is God's will, which is what a lot of people do, including spiritual New Agey people. Well, I guess it's God's will. War, rape, etc. No. Those are the wheels we set in motion. What Buddha calls the wheel of life. It's an illusion. It's a game that we set into motion. What did he say to do? Step out of the wheel and start to center and be objective. See it. And when some of those gears come around that hit you, don't react to them, he's saying. Don't react to them. It'll neutralize the wheel. So the things that seem to be start going, disappearing. It's amazing if you think about it. It's like, there's a Kung Fu episode, the TV show, where he's being attacked by this demonic being who's materializing, throwing things at him, and he can't fight it. He's trying to do all these Shaolin movements, and he gets hit where he doesn't expect, and just goes on and on. Then eventually, he just sits down. And the being's going, "What are you doing?" In Kwai Cheng, "I created you. Now I can uncreate you." And the being, "Oh, we're melting," and gone. I know it sounds like we wish all exes would exit like that. Just disappear. And I joke like that, but I know that stuff hurts. Which is sometimes why it's healthy to get a laugh once in a while. Yes?
One thought that I had, we were talking about suicide. I would say jumping off the wheel could sometimes be the lesser of all.
That's how it feels. For some people, if things are overwhelming, it's all the same. Whether you jump off the wheel in suicide, whether you jump into divorce, whether you jump out of a job, they all say the same thing. This is as much as I can handle. There isn't God on the other side going, tap, 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 so judging you for it. It isn't. It's only you meeting yourself.
What am I contributing to if I remain?
That's another thought. What are you contributing? One of the things that it's amazing that people don't understand, depression and futility and feelings like that, we think, okay, well, maybe medication, maybe if it's a nutrient, maybe this. One of the most profound cures for feeling futility or I'm not making a difference, etc. You know what? Go donate time at an animal shelter, and here's what happens, or wherever. Be of service. Here's why. If you make a difference in one person's life today, you know you made a difference. What happens is your soul realizes, if I had not been there, that person would be all the worse off, which means I have a purpose. I can make a difference. I don't care if it's a cat, dog, person, a group of people. When you make a difference in people's lives, it's almost impossible to feel as futile. So service is one of the best cures for depression. I'm telling you, I can't go into all the pieces as to why and what it does energetically, but your root chakra starts to activate more and tether you to the planet because I just made an incredible difference. Now, I've made a difference. I've lived this way so many years, sessions and people and tears and all kinds of healings, and still this world can get to me sometimes where I think, I don't want to be here. There's absolutely days where I'm like, okay, where's the ejection seat? Button, poof, catch me, Lord. But I know this. If I made a difference yesterday, today I'm not sure. Try this. If I made one yesterday, I bet tomorrow will be another. Would I want to deny the help I can be to someone out there? Do I want to leave them to the sharks? I'm not being a rescuer. I'm just saying, I know I can make a difference. Not because I'm some incredible being, just a smile sometimes. Just helping people feel hope. You brought up hope, and like I said, hope isn't something as much you pray for God to give you. God's going, do you know who you are? Hope is like a small order. It's like a trillionaire saying, can you lend me $10? It doesn't make sense. Hope is like, that means there's the opposite. So God almost would laugh at the idea of asking for, what God wants you to do is ask to remember who you are, and then you'll automatically feel hope because there's nothing else. But you'll also help other people feel there's a hope for them, and that's ever so important. We're going to take up our collection, okay? And then do our closing prayer. Please, please be as generous as you can be. And you saw our newsletter that went out. I hinted about this, and if you're a member, then you probably got a letter. If you didn't see it and you are a member of the Global, an actual member of the Global Center, you should go in your spam to find it because we sent a special letter out a couple days ago. And in the letter, we're trying to clear things up. For some people, they're like, well, I don't donate very often because it's an educational center, isn't it? No. Is it a church? No, it's not an educational center. No. So some people are like, well, I don't know what to do about donating because I don't know what you guys are. So I understand that. We don't know either. Because there's no name for it. It's a new paradigm. So we call it a spiritual center because it's a church center, learning center. It is a church and learning center, so it's a spiritual center. And I'm a spiritual leader, not a rabbi, not a, pastor, so it is different. It's a paradigm that some people don't get, but it has adversely affected their ability to treat us with the respect and reverence that common churches, people, churchgoers do at common churches. They might even only be teaching at a surface level, and people are doing their tithing and donating. And here at a deep level, and people are like, well, bye, And I'm not putting pressure on you here. And I'm not even going to say, when people don't believe they can afford it, I never want you to try donating when you can't afford it. If it'll cause you to skip a meal, don't. It's okay. What I'm going to ask is, if you can't afford, start to ask for opening your mind for more. And when you donate $1, you'll find next week, maybe a month later, you can afford 10. When you eventually go from 10, it'll keep going because your consciousness will keep growing. So it is enough to send us your love and support in here, in prayer. Doesn't always have to be money. But those of you who can, it all adds up. So thank you for your donations of 5, 10, 20, or whatever. And those of you who have even more available, God bless you for trusting to donate more. Because you know what? This is all that matters. God, our connection with God, and feeding our source for awakening. It's all that matters. It's more important than, I got to save up some money because I'm going to go to the track or the casino. I mean, I understand your addictions and needs. But, try a happier dream, where you can connect and donate to things that change the world for the better, not just a gamble for the minute. So thank you very much. Now, we're going to do our love offering prayer. It's a prosperity prayer. It's an affirmation. It's the truth. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and so it is. Thank you. We'll do our closing prayer in about a minute or two. In the meantime, a couple of quick things I want to share with you. One, next Sunday from 12 to 3, we're going to do a workshop on hands-on healing. It'll be online only because we also have other things going on in the sanctuary, but you're welcome to join that program, hands-on healing. So it's a little bit about how to do energy work and work on chakras and auras and just general blessings for people. Sign up for that if you can. We also have, there's a new variety of items over there on that table outside the bookstore, a whole array of new items in case you haven't seen that. For several weeks, for about 4 weeks now, we've been putting an overflow of things over there. So you're welcome to check those out. If there's a bright orange card, then the thing is discounted. There's a couple things that are just a couple on standard prices, but those cards tell you about it. So when there's a card, don't read the little individual price on the items. Go by the card because they're discounted. We have a Beltane concert coming up April 28th, okay? So sign up as soon as you can, because the way things are, we want to create celebrations. The world can do as it will. We're still here, and we're still celebrating, doing life, doing love. So we have a Beltane concert. It's not just a music playing at you. It's an experiential thing that we're putting together. So there's movement, there's dance, there's, some people are even dressing up accordingly, but you don't have to. But that's April 28th. It's Sunday after service. It's going to be extraordinary. I think we've already sold a fourth of the tickets, and it just now went on sale. So sign up as soon as you can. We need to know how many bodies to expect. We have to know that, not the day of. It would be best, you can show up the day of, but it's best if we have numbers. So we'd appreciate if you sign up this week or next week. We've got to know how to arrange the chairs because we're needing room for movement. This afternoon, it's the first Sunday of the month, so we have our prayer, a few hours of prayer each hour, which we've already been doing here. But we also have a spiritual study and interpretation of the Bible and lost books of the Bible. That's something I lead once a month, and it's the first Sunday of every month. You can still go back and watch the old replays, but it's an incredible workshop or study. We go into everything, all the symbolism and the mythology, and just blending everything so that it's not like a dry study of some kind. Let's see. Remember, we have a QR code that was shown on the screens before. it helps us if you go and do one, it's those weird little boxes, little dots. If you just put it on your phone will automatically, unless you're not signed on to your phone, it will, it'll activate and you can do a review. If you like us, tell your friends. If you don't, tell your enemies. Okay?
The healing on Zoom only?
Yes, yeah, that's what I said, yes. Remember, we have a crystal bed, a yurt out here, crystal bed sessions going on out there, so that's some incredible healing opportunities, especially if you've had bad experiences with yurts. This beautiful lady here, oh my God, she's visiting us, and I'll keep it brief, but she's visiting us from Colorado, and they've been part of our group here for a long time. But she just, some months ago, was in her yurt, and it exploded because of a gas leak or something. And her partner walked out. He was going out to the property, heard the boom. He turned around and he saw the yurt several tens of feet up in the air. And when it landed, her legs were pulverized into non-existence. She landed on concrete on her head, but no head injuries. And so she lost her legs, and yet she gained her heart. And the two of them are very incredible, and they've written a book about it. They talk about it openly, about trusting and knowing that things happen in your life, and you have no idea why and how, what gears are turning at what time. All you know is free will allows you to say, that does not have power over me. So bless you. Bless you for sharing that with me this morning. Please stand for our closing prayer. We laugh and we celebrate and we do some really deep teachings, and we have all this. But we as a group, as a center, as a church, as a whatever, we never lose sight that one in every so many people is going through a lot of stuff, dark night of the soul, confusion. We might laugh and we're doing these things and we're deep teachings and people wow and aha. That doesn't mean that we're not aware of suffering and hurt. So, those of you dealing with anything right now, whether you're online or in the room, we can all just intuit who you are, or we can ask you to step up and energetically ask for help. And here's how I'm going to ask you to do it. If you're struggling in some way, just reach your hand out and touch someone next to you, just on your own. Just put your hand out and let someone take your hand, or you can put your hand on their shoulder, and that's enough for the rest of us to know, I'm sorry. How can I help? And the help inside. The outside, it's fine if help comes. But what we're doing is we're supporting you. You had the courage to say, help me. Now your help me goes to a fellow brother, sister on this planet. It goes out to all of us light workers. It goes out to Christ and the Holy Spirit. I acknowledge it. I'm struggling in some way. And I don't know what to do. My head might think it knows. I don't know. And in the I don't know, I'm an empty vessel that can be filled completely with the presence of love, peace, joy, and abundance. You are as God created you. You are the Christ on earth. I know that it doesn't feel that way now, but I speak on your behalf, is what we're all saying to those individuals. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all. Thank you.